So hello everyone, I'm really happy to be here with you today as the founder and director of World Animal Justice, WAJ in short. In this webinar, you will learn about World Animal Justice vision and our double mission to defend animal rights and to end animal crimes in the law worldwide. You will also discover the 6 essential topics leading to this exclusive webinar series that we are launching today from World Animal Justice experts. They are incredible animal lawyers from all around the world who will share with us their unique legal expertise and formulate concrete proposals to better protect animals worldwide. So stay with me until the end, and you'll get the chance to know more about these amazing webinars to come. So first of all, what is World Animal Justice? Well, this is first an international non-profit organization working with animal law experts and other NGOs around the world in order to change the current legal paradigm to build a new world where justice exists for all animals. How? Well, in defending animal rights and ending animal crimes. Next slide, please. Which animal rights are we talking about? We are first referring to the fundamental interests or rights of animals to live, to be free, and to be well treated. World Animal Justice is advocating for their legal recognition worldwide. Legal precedents exist to afford some fundamental rights to animals to live or to be free, most notably in court decisions since 2012. It was the case for great apes in Argentina and Ecuador in South American countries, and also for great mammals like cetaceans and elephants in India and Pakistan in the last years. And the direct correlative to protect these rights is to prohibit the crimes that are infringing them. This leads us to key questions. Do we respect the rights of animals to live when they are massively killed, like for food, experiments, wild animals, etc.? Secondly, do we respect the rights of animals to be free when they are massively encaged, either domestic animals or wild animals in captivity? And of course, do we respect the rights of animals to be well treated when they are massively harmed? World Animal Justice stands that all crimes towards animals should reach their term, and that we should act far now for animals and for all forms of avoidable human-induced animal suffering to be stopped. Indeed, let's phrase that the term avoidable seems much more objective than the term of causing unnecessary suffering, which is the term usually employed in anti-cruelty laws. Indeed, some acts, as we mentioned, can be considered necessary for humans, either for money or to perpetuate so-called traditions, for instance. So the question is not, is this unnecessary, but more, is it objectively avoidable because we can do otherwise? To avoid the horrors of farming, we know that alternative products to animal food exist. And for experiment, we know that alternative methods that don't harm animals are now available. Next slide, please. From my PhD research, I could identify that 2/3 of the world countries, here in blue, prohibit some acts of cruelty towards some animals, mostly companions and vertebrates. However, these anti-cruelty laws usually contain some loopholes, with a general lack of enforcement worldwide, and some cruel acts that are still allowed as exemptions of cruelty. For instance, in France, where I live, bullfighting is recognized as a cruel practice in the penal code, but it's still allowed in all south of France as a traditional practice. And this is a major legal inconsistency. Why? Well, because animals are increasingly recognized as sentient beings in a growing number of countries, like in France, but acts of cruelty are supposed to be prohibited, and some cruel acts for some species in some places are still allowed. Would we consider it acceptable for humans? I just let you think just a moment about that. Would it be considered acceptable to legally allow cruel acts for some humans in some places where cruelty is not allowed? Well, in my sense, this is not more acceptable for humans than for animals. And moreover, 1/3 of the world's countries, here in gray, don't have any cruelty laws or even a basic legal protection of animals at all. Next, please. What would not be legal for humans, too, is the incredible rate to which animals are killed every day and everywhere in the world. If humans would be killed at the same rate than animals are every day, it would mean that there would be no more human on Earth in maximum 16 days. Can you realize that? This is absolutely unbelievable. Every single day, at the very least, 500 million of terrestrial and aquatic animals are killed, even without counting insects. We are talking of farmed animals, wild animals, lab animals, and others who are scientifically proven and legally recognized to be sentient and conscious beings. So World Animal Justice stands that all these horrible crimes should be totally stopped worldwide, because, as we said, we can do otherwise. Next slide, please. These massive crimes towards animals can be called crimes against animality and zoocide, by analogy with the massive crimes for humans that are crimes against humanity and genocides. This is a brand new approach adopted by World Animal Justice, and we are paving the way for these crimes against animality and zoocide to be enshrined in international criminal law. First of all, let me define this new criminal notion for animals. Well, the crimes against animals was first suggested by Professor Deborah Tsao in a paper from 2018. At World Animal Justice, we are proposing a similar definition to the crime against humanity, which is defined under the Article 7 of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, and which provide us a very good basis to propose a widely acceptable definition. In this sense, these crimes are the murders, meaning the massive killings of animals, the sequestration, where animals are enclosed in cages or in captivity, and etc., the enslavement, where animals are forced to obey with painful training methods like in circuses or for dogs or horses, etc., the deportations for animals, which can relate to the long transportation in trucks or boats in terrible conditions for many days and thousands of kilometers. And unfortunately, the dark side of the reality doesn't not stop here, because it is too important to raise the common tortures of animals, like the vivisection of lab animals or the live mutilations of farmed animals. And of course, the sexual violences that animals suffer, like the zoophilia practices, which is still allowed in some countries in the world. As for zoocide, this term was first employed by Mathieu Ricard in his book, A Plea for the Animals. At World Animal Justice, we addressed this concept in an extensive manner, as to encompass the extermination of animal populations and animal species. As we know, the extinction rate of animal species is decuplated by 100 to 1,000 times from the natural rate. And our human species is definitely the only one able to exterminate all other species, including ourselves. World Animal Justice and our group of animal law experts are working for these crimes to be recognized and prohibited in international law. How? Well, we are exploring the ways available in current international criminal law system and also the new ways that can be set up to create a new regime and institutions dealing with international animal crimes. Next slide, please. It's when the situation became known for humans and now for the environment that the international community could ask to recognize and prohibit these crimes. This was the case for crimes against humanity and also for the crime of genocide, the last one having been condemned by the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in 1948, which is an interesting year because it is the same year then the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted. This shows us that banning the worst crimes against vital rights and the recognition of these rights are logically going together. As for the crimes against environment, the prosecutor can, from the International Criminal Court, has launched a consultation to include these crimes against environment in the Rome Statute alongside crimes against humanity. And as for ecocide, this crime is now recognized in some countries, like recently in Belgium, with penalties up to 20 years in prison and 1.6 million euros of fine. This shows that these crimes causing serious damages to the environment can be considered with a really high gravity and even considered as the most serious crimes. So the question is, can it be the same for animals? Can we think that one future day, the crimes against animality and the crime of zoocide will become considered with the seriousness and high gravity they deserve? This new consideration would significantly uplift the offenses of cruelty to animals to the qualification of crimes, and even become part of the greatest crimes that they are. Some can be even qualified as international organized crimes. This is, for instance, the case of wildlife trafficking, which is defended by the End Wildlife Crime Initiative. Moreover, we know that animal crimes are interconnected with environmental and human crimes as well. To take the example of wildlife trafficking, we know that it can be related to the trafficking of drugs and weapons affecting humans. Another example is the massive deforestation, which can be considered as an environmental crime, which is also responsible for the extinction of animal populations and species. Finally, we know that cruelty towards animals can be linked to cruelty with humans. That is why the judges should be aware that dangerous behaviors are a social problem concerning us all, and not just a problem related only to animals, even if it's already grave enough in itself and should be condemned in a systematic manner. Next slide, please. So in sum, humans, animals, and our environment are all interconnected. And we can say that humans and our environment cannot be protected well if animals remain the missing piece of the global puzzle of worldwide protections. However, they do deserve this protection, not only as individuals, but also as sentient and conscious beings. Because just like us, they have the right to live a good life and to be free from physical and psychological suffering when it's avoidable. And we should raise our voice louder for the voiceless, for the 100 millions of animals victims of human exploitation, abuses, and massacres every day, everywhere worldwide. That's crazy. Animals are at the heart of our work at World Animal Justice, and we need to protect them better and to protect them first and for their own sake. And we know that protecting animals will drive us to a virtuous cycle for humans and environmental protection too, and ultimately towards a new universal justice for all. Next, please. So as to further explore these questions, we identified 6 key topics that will be developed by World Animal Justice experts in this amazing webinar series to come. These topics are international criminal law and animals, which is at the heart of World Animal Justice work. Same for environmental crimes to animal crimes, the human, environmental, and animal rights questions, international law for animals in practice, national anti-cruelty laws from theory to practice, and concretely advocating for animals' rights to end animal crimes. And I will now present you the provisional program of our WAJ webinar series, knowing that more experts and webinars will be added in the coming times. So in the first topic, which is, yes, at the core of World Animal Justice work, Professor Deborah Cao, or Professor Deborah Tsao, to spell her name right, will start by talking of crimes against animals in international law. And this will be followed by Ankita Shankar, who will raise the notion of animals as victims of serious atrocities. Then Marine Mercier will explore more the notion of war crimes against animals and their protection under international law. In the second topic, Dr. Megan Nathalie will demonstrate that international wildlife trade is a wildlife crime. And then Maya Pardo will explain how to use environmental law to protect animals. In the third topic, Altamush Said will address interspecies justice and animal protections in disaster, followed by Iga Glaziewska, on animal and environmental rights as social justice imperatives. In the fourth topic, Zanis Mavro-Gordato will tell us about international law tools to protect animals, before Selena Hinton-White develops on the idea of international law for animals in practice, and Jessica Tselepi will address the global objective of a worldwide end to live export. Then in the fifth topic, Mo Essan will address the West African approaches to animal cruelty legislation. And Cecilia Darnaud will talk about the example of French anti-cruelty laws. In the last topic, Nancy Makovice will raise how we can use interdisciplinary approach to implement and enforce animal welfare laws. As we could understand, World Animal Justice adopts an overarching and transversal approach, where we link the theory with the practice of animal law. Indeed, in these webinars, these animal law experts will not only share with you their expertise, but also present you innovative proposals as to better protect animals. And that's what makes the difference of these amazing WAJ webinars to come. So don't miss the chance to watch them. And next, please. And that's why I invite you to save the dates of the next 4 confirmed webinars. So the series on international criminal law and animals will start with Professor Deborah Tsao on the 18th of June, followed by Ankita Shankar on the 8th of July. Next, please. And then we will have the presentation from Marine Mercier on the 26th of July. And Dr. Megan Natalie will introduce the next topic on environmental and animal crimes on the 16th of September. So you can stay tuned on our LinkedIn page of World Animal Justice to see these upcoming events. And you will also be directly invited to register to these following webinars in the coming days. Next, please. And I want to end this presentation by raising that this is really our collective human responsibility to protect animal rights against the crimes inflicted to them. And as stated by another animal justiciar, every act of animal abuse diminishes our collective humanity. And we must work together to create a world free from cruelty and violence. And thank you very much for attending this webinar today.